On today's show, should DIY musicians promote their own show?
That's the question we're going to ask on today's 30-minute music marketing.
30-minute music marketing for musicians who want to get better at marketing their music.
Hi, I'm Greg.
Hello, I'm Sheldon, and this is 30-minute music marketing, the show for DIY artists and independent musicians who want to get better at marketing their music. Thanks very much for watching this, listening to this, wherever you get your podcasts, or if you're watching it on the YouTubes or the Facebooks. Thank you very much for doing so.
Smash that subscribe button.
Subscribe if you're on the YouTube. Tell a fellow independent musician about our show and all the help and advice that you get from us on a weekly basis.
And like what we do. If you like what we do, like it. That
Like
way
it. There'll be
keeps us motivated
There'll be a button or a heart somewhere.
to give up our Fridays doing this. So
We record on a Friday, they get it on a Monday.
They do,
Well,
so-
depending on whether
Depending.
you edit it in time. Sorry,
Anyway.
that's just a big dig from Greg and his poor timekeeping and processing of episodes. Anyway, deep dive, Greg.
deep dive. What is today's
The
deep
question.
dive?
Well,
Number 20.
you didn't know the question because you answered it at the top of the episode. Should DIY musicians promote their own shows? And this follows on from a deep dive that we did, a couple of weeks back. It was deep dive 20 when we discussed whose responsibility is it to market a show. Do you remember that?
I do.
Should we have a bit of a recap?
Go on.
Well, we said that there's like normally three different parties when it comes to promoting a show.
Yep.
There's the venue, and we
Yep.
said that they normally market to the people who attend the venue, and they market in the area around the venue.
Yep.
There's the promoter who will book the venue and the band, and generally it's their job to advertise to the general public,
Yep.
as it were. And then you've got the band or artists themselves, and it's their responsibility to market to their audience, their fans, and depending on the size of that particular artist, maybe the family and the friends
Yeah.
as well.
So
And
that's obviously in an ideal world.
yeah, and we said at the time that for a lot of DIY artists, if you left it all to the promoter, well, the only people or the main people that know about you as an artist and a musician are generally your fans, your social media followers, and your sort of friends and family, and that you, as an artist, were the best person to contact those people. And if you left it all to the promoter doesn't really know necessarily who your sort of fans are. So we said at the time that if you left it all to the promoter, you'd possibly be missing out, and there would be, a bit of a discrepancy, as it were, in terms of trying to actually
That's a
reach the
polite
people
way
who
of
were
putting it.
supposed to be, coming to the show. And that's sort of where we left it. I suppose we could sort of follow on from that particular point and say, okay then, well, if, should you as a musician, should you cut out the middleman? Should you actually forego the use of a promoter and start promoting your own shows yourself?
Would you say you have experience of both of these?
Yes, and, you've got some experience in promoting, nights.
Yeah.
On a small scale. But, as we've sort of said in that particular recap then, it's for maybe a lot of the nights that our audience might be playing, that they're doing a lot of the legwork, they're bringing most of the crowd, and really on a lot of nights that that our audience might be playing, all a promoter will do is they will book a venue, and they will get 4 acts or artists who possibly don't even all sort of sound the same.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll have something whereby they might do a pay-to-play ticket deal. Let me just spit on that. Or they might go, right, you need to sell, 40, 50 tickets. I'll give you £1 a ticket for every ticket that you sell. And the promoter really, they're almost like I always use the term gig facilitator. They're giving bands an opportunity to play a gig, but the bands have to do all the legwork, and it's the band's fans who are really paying for the privilege to watch a band, that they want to see, that's maybe their sort of friends and family, in what might be, admittedly, a nice venue, and a venue maybe the size that necessarily that act wouldn't be able to play under normal sort of circumstances. I think that accounts for a lot of the shows that maybe our audience might be familiar with.
But they're the ones that are usually the ones hating those set of circumstances.
Yeah, because
It's
they
always someone else's job.
yeah, and it's generally sort of hard work, and the acts don't normally receive a lot of the financial reward
Yeah.
for that hard work. So I'm just discussing now about the possibility of, if you've got your wits about you and you're organised and you're hardworking, I think it might be possible for a lot of our audience to take on that responsibility of being the promoter themselves. So what
So-
here's a possible action plan.
Go on.
So we're based in sunny St Helens in the northwest of England. Our two nearest major
Cities.
metropolitan cities are Liverpool and Manchester.
Mhm.
So what I would do is, if I was maybe the sort of act who could, at a push, maybe get 50 people to travel 10 or so miles.
Are we talking
to a
50
city.
fans or 50 friends and family members?
As long as they're paying a ticket, I don't care who they are.
Right,
Right, so
okay.
if you can get 50 people to a gig,
Hmm.
then what you really need to do is, right, can you find in your nearest major metropolitan town or city a music venue or somewhere that puts gigs on that is maybe about 100 capacity sort of venue?
Hmm.
Okay, so the example I always use here is the Castle on Oldham Street in Manchester. It's a pub. It's got a room at the back. It's got 80 capacity. You used to be able to hire it out for 100 quid.
Really?
Yeah, I mean it might be a little bit more now, but some say in the region of about 100, 120, 130 pounds.
Yeah.
So if you can bring 50 people to that venue, and you can get a support act, and they can bring 30 people, say.
Yep.
Then you're going to sell out that venue. You're going to be associated then with a sold out show.
Mhm.
Yes, you and your support act, you brought all the audience yourselves, but that would have been exactly the same case had you been, doing a gig for another promoter with 4 acts on the bill, playing a much bigger venue. You've not sort of sold it out. And it's one of those nights whereby if you're on last, all the 3 acts that are on before you, because they've played, their mates have seen their, that audience have seen their mates play on the stage. And as soon as they've played, they all generally bugger off then, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Do you remember the occasions, Greg, when we go, oh, we're on last, that's great, we're top of the bill, and generally you'd end up playing to a mostly empty room because everyone who was there to watch their friends who'd played befall you, they'd all sort of gone. So we're now in a situation whereby, yes, we've brought all the audience, but you would have done that anyway.
Nobody wanted a headline, did they? It's like, I don't want to go last.
Yeah. But this is it. So now, because we're playing a smaller venue, we've sold it out, so we've got the kudos of selling out a venue. You can put sold out, or you can spread that banner all across social media. And now, obviously, you've got the expense of room hire, which might be, as I say, 100, 120, 130 pounds. Maybe the cost of marketing, got your posters, running some Facebook ads boosts, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Other than that, you get to reap the financial rewards. You get to, if you're using a ticketing service like Eventbrite, you can capture the email address of the people who've got tickets, so you can start to build a sort of database.
Actually, on this basis, talking about tickets, I still see a lot of people, we're going to use that swear word, swear phrase again.
Carry on.
Pay to play.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of going around selling literally physical tickets. Selling a physical ticket is going to acquire you no information, is it?
No.
So why are they still doing?
You want people to actually buy online.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Why am I still seeing tickets printed out?
There's obviously a certain amount of convenience, and again,
That's an additional cost because you've got to get the blooming things printed out.
Yeah, at a certain level, I think that method of ticket distribution, it's almost a bit like buying raffle tickets.
Yeah.
When you cajole, again, if you're into the act of having to cajole somebody to buy a ticket from you there and then, as you would do if you were buying a sort of raffle ticket. But yeah, you want to be pointing people online, because then you can get their email addresses for customer data. And when you next do a show in that city or town or location, you can email them again and just say, exciting news, we're back.
And also, I mean, the thing is that you could, can you sell tickets on your Facebook page?
If you use Eventbrite, you can sell within the Facebook event
And
itself.
you are going to get a database. So in some respects, it's you're not only putting on a gig and stuff, you're also, you know, acquiring a database, which would otherwise cost you money, but ultimately will be covered by the person paying the ticket price. So
So,
it's a win-win, isn't
so
it?
I would say for local shows, cut out the middleman / middle person. There's, again, if you can get that audience to the show, if then I think that's it's a great thing to do. The one thing I would say is
Yeah.
that if doing promoting local shows is one thing, establishing a tour and taking that out
Is a
into
whole new-
is a whole different ball game for a number of reasons. One is that there's a certain amount of expertise, and for example, you might know in terms of the locale where a good particular venue to play would be, maybe where a good venue wouldn't be. If you start going out to external cities which are 50, 80 miles away, you haven't got necessarily that local music scene knowledge, and you might put yourself into a venue where you don't necessarily want to put yourself into.
Be kind of doing online content, live performances, even filming a gig done locally, and then market that to somewhere like the next town along, see what the reception is to that, and then consider going over there. But it's almost like they're going to these other places before they even know they're actually really wanted to be there, kind of thing. So coming back to, there's just a quick question coming back to what you said. So, okay, they're going to cut out the middleman, as you've suggested.
Cut out the middleman, small venue.
Small venue. What? Okay, so say, give me a figure based on your expertise.
Yeah.
Of how much it's going to cost them to hire the venue and promote it, so they can get and incur the costs of making some contribution to a second band playing. What's it going to cost them?
Right, hiring a venue. Obviously every venue is different.
But kind of go on this 100-person capacity.
100-person capacity room or venue is going to cost you in the region of about 100. Upper end would be maybe 150.
Okay, and how much are you going to spend on promotion?
I would spend something in the region of about maybe £1 per person.
So you're going to spend 100 quid on promotion.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So that's £200 to £250 expenses.
And what are you going to pay the other band to play?
Oh, I don't know. How much would we? Well, you'd have to maybe.
Yeah, well, you got to otherwise
maybe discuss. So.
Okay, but let's kind of let's try and give the people on the other side of this camera a bit of a figure.
Say we're really generous and we pay them £100.
So that's now cost you 300 to 350 quid for a night.
100 capacity room, £7 a ticket.
So right, okay.
£700.
Yeah.
We've spent 300, maybe 350.
Right.
So that's, say, 350 quid profit.
So
boom,
really,
shakalaka, boom. Plus you can sell merch
on
the night
and you're
as
also
well.
And you're going to acquire a database of people that you can contact again. So realistically, are you the people on the other side of this?
The people who are listening on the podcast can't see your finger pointing.
I realise that, but the people on the other
Just
end of our voices.
You.
Yes. Are you prepared to put money, to make money, and also increase the awareness of your band? Because based on that example, which is, it's not impossible.
No.
It will require a bit of work, but realistically, we can, if you really hate these pay-to-play gigs and venues and shenanigans, stop doing them. Do this.
It's when you break it down like that, and when you realise it again, if you're bringing 50 people to a gig, say 50 or whatever, and they're paying money, but they're paying that money direct to the promoter, and they could be paying that money to you. And like I say, it's only when you really start expanding it further, as I say, into other cities where the costs start to get a little bit more. Yeah. No, I won't say out of control, but
more than
more. Yeah, because what you've got to do is
the risk seems higher than the gain.
Yes, you've got to start thinking about. So if you're doing like a 10-date tour, then you've got your deposits for your venues, and you've got all the Facebook advertising for shows which might be months in advance, but you might be spending 100 this month and 100 next month and 200 the month after, and you incur a lot of expenses, and you won't necessarily get the money from the tickets until the actual date of the show, so that there's a time, there's basically it's a cash flow situation, and that's, as I say, if you're a promoter, and I work for a promoter, our skill is booking the right acts at the right venues, which is where I was when I was talking about venues before. But also, we've got the cash reserves to pay for all the expenses in terms of marketing, promotion, all that sort of thing, so the bands don't have to worry about that. I've been recently working with a band and doing some of their Facebook advertising, and they were saying, right, this is gonna have to go on the credit card, because we're paying for all this advertising and promo, and the tour hasn't even started yet, so we've not got any money to pay for it. So obviously, at scale, that's where a promoter comes in, and that's where a promoter might earn their money. But in terms of your local shows, if you go small, I think that's the
You effectively
you
can
can
go
do
big.
it yourself. Yeah, well, yeah.
In terms of, so really, you don't be afraid in spending money, because if you really want the stage to play on and the people there, then if you've got the possibility of risking something, hopefully you won't rely on everyone else to do it for you. So in terms of, you just put at the bottom here, if you want to play a bigger venue in town.
Yeah, so we were
would you
talking
do?
about 100 capacity venues. If you want to go, right, well, I fancy taking the next step up, and you haven't
Which
got
is kind
a
of
large.
Which is kind of what you're doing for this year, isn't it?
Yeah,
But we're not
for my
going to
band,
talk
yes.
about. I'm not
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
mention any more than that at the moment. But you are kind of going.
Yeah,
You're having to think big.
We want to move up to a bigger room, a bigger venue in one of the towns where we play. So we're collecting a bill of artists who will each bring people in. So if you're saying, right, I want to move up from 100 capacity venue, but I haven't got the necessary audience to actually move that up, then maybe you could book an out of town headliner, and you could be the support for that particular show. Again, you're going to run into instances whereby, well, they're going to need paying, and you might need to pay them maybe £400 or £500 to play. But again, there's a greater risk, but that's the sort of thing that promoters do. They do take on risk, but that would be one way to do it.
Yeah. And again, you're getting the stage that you want, and ultimately you can, if you don't like the way that someone else does it, then take the reins, and then you can decide however you want.
And you've got the kudos of quite literally doing it all yourself, and knowing that's something that you've built. I mean, you've been you promoted nights yourselves many years ago. We promoted a night that moved around from the north. Yeah, so you're remembering now that moved around the northwest of England, and going to somewhere and having quite a modest amount of this was before Facebook, wasn't it? Having a modest amount of people at a night that you created yourselves, that none of these people would be here if it wasn't for you. That's a really great feeling.
And also the other thing is, it gives you it gets you out of just your little bubble. It gets you kind of, if you're outside your comfort zone, that's usually the time that you learn.
Yeah. And you might find that you're actually very good at being a promoter, and you sack off of this being a musician lark. You never know. You never know.
It's kind of a bit like what you've done.
No, I'm still very much a musician, Greg. Very much a musician.
Yes, he's actually bought his first musical instrument in about 10
years.
years.
10, maybe 15 years, yeah.
So, start from the top, summary.
So, the question was, should DIY musicians promote their own shows? Yes, but with a certain caveat. I think you should be more than capable of promoting local shows within your own area. I would go about booking smaller capacity venues, maybe something on the lines of 100 capacity there or thereabouts. What you need to do is maybe to get yourself and maybe one, maybe even two support acts. And because it's you as an artist who'd be bringing all that audience rather than a promoter who's trying to attract the general public, you can basically do a small scale show, bring all the audience in yourselves, but reap all the financial rewards yourselves.
And those people filming with their phones will ultimately tell more people about you, so they're going to be doing some promotion for you as well, in a roundabout kind of way. So in terms of don't be afraid of taking risk. In terms of, yes, it's monetary risk, and nobody likes spending money on something that isn't a guitar. But if you go along the lines of the smaller venues, then you will, you are going to push yourself, and you will be the person who will make that return rather than blaming the promoter.
As long as you're okay, with hard work And the idea is that, it takes a lot of work to try and get 50 people to a gig that someone else is promoting. You might as well do the same amount of work and get those people to your own gig.
And
That's how I look at it.
on
Anyway.
a 100-person venue, it looks like, just on the basic math that we talked about, you literally could double your money. So
Yeah.
on the money spent, which ain't a bad deal, is it?
Wonga.
So there you go. That is today's 15-minute deep dive.
50, well,
Well, it's
more
probably a
than
bit
50.
over, but
Who cares? Who
what
cares?
are your thoughts? What are your questions?
Do you agree with us?
Smash that
Is it
down.
something that you've done already? Do you feel suitably inspired to go out and do it yourselves? Is there anything else you want us to talk about and give our opinions or advice on? There's probably a box somewhere underneath this video that you can do that. Leave us a comment. Get in contact with us, via some other ways, Twitters, all that sort of thing.
Yes. So anyway, have a good week. And
Thanks very much.
We will see you same place, same time next week.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.